Hey guys, welcome. We're right here. We're going to do some night photography. We're going to start off by taking a night long exposure of this bridge right here. And then later on we're going to go up on the bridge and take some car trails. So we have a really cool little lesson here for you guys. So I'm going to start talking about my gear first, because to take long exposures it's really important that first you bring a tripod. Okay? The tripod here, if you notice my bag is hanging on this little hook right here. It's really important at night that you sort of weigh down your tripod, especially if it's sort of a cheap one like this. This one's a little bit light. So I put my bag here to weigh it down. So one, the wind doesn't move it around. And two, if there's any kind of vibrations, it also won't bounce around. So first thing, tripod. Second thing I got here to help, you don't need this, but I got a little shutter release remote, right? And this just connects right to the camera, and I use this just so I don't have to actually push the button. If you don't have one, that's fine. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. One could be a wireless remote, two can be a wired shutter release, and three, you can actually use the self-timer on your camera. So you don't need a remote, but you don't really want to touch the shutter button when you actually take the picture. You want to do it hands-free. On that note, another thing that you can do is actually use the mirror lockup function. This is going to actually make it even a step further than not touching your camera. It's going to let the mirror on your SLR pop up, and then you can press the button and take a shot. So there'll be no vibrations. That's pretty key when you're doing a long exposure, because any kind of vibration is going to make your photo really blurry. Alright? The last thing on the list then I want to show you here is just a way to set your white balance. It's really important when you're taking night photography. You have a lot of different color temperature lights, and you want to sort of plan out how that color is going to look. So an easy way to do it is actually just turn on the function here on your camera, and you hit a white balance button here, and you can see the temperature is right here, and you can just move it around and adjust it till you find a good temperature you like. And when you got that, you know that your color is going to be sort of what you're expecting it to be. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to fire off a shot. Right now I have a 30-second exposure at f/16. Longest I can go right now. The cool thing about the shutter release is that you could actually go for a longer time. So I didn't need to in this case because that just marked my exposure right on. So let's see how the photo turns out. Alright, here we go. Let's take a quick look here, and right on. So, really cool. Color's exactly how I want it to be. Everything's nice and sharp. I'm going to zoom in. One thing that you can do to check your picture is actually zoom in to 100%. And when you look at that, you can see that all the bars, the rebars here are nice and sharp. Lights are good, and that's all. So, we're going to take it up to the bridge right there. We're going to get on there and we're going to shoot some night trails with the car taillights. Alright, so we're up on this bridge. We're going to take some really cool car trails right now. I just want to talk a little bit about what I'm doing inside the camera. Like a little bit about settings, a little bit about composition, and so on. So first thing I want to talk about is aperture. And something that you can do that's really cool with aperture is make all the street lights sort of give a star effect. Easy way to do that is just to put your aperture down to something like f/16. You could even go even a little bit wider to something like f9 is also okay. One way you can do that is actually checking your depth of field preview button, and that could actually give you an idea of what it looks like. Alright? I've already done that here, so I'm at f/16. The smaller that hole is, the bigger that star is going to be, alright? We've already checked the white balance, and another thing I wanted to talk about is the ISO. The ISO should be as low as you can go. It's easy as that. So when you're shooting with a tripod, ISO isn't really a problem. You can just bring it down furthest it can go. So simple said. Now I want to talk a little bit about what to look for in a composition. So when you're shooting with a lot of street lights, you're going to have a lot of little hot spots basically. Unless you do something like HDR, we can bring them down. But when you're composing, think about the arrangement of these lights. How do they fit in a pattern? Also, you can think about vanishing point. That's another good thing to look for, especially when you're on something like a road. So I set up my composition here. I've basically got my vanishing point, and I've arranged the lights in a certain way to sort of make it look pretty interesting. The last thing to note then is the cars that are coming by. This is like the motion that we're going to capture. Basically what I did for the shutter speed is, right now you see this truck, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, till it gets to the vanishing point, which is actually about 15 seconds. So that's where I've set my shutter speed, to make sure that I get a car going from the beginning to the end of my scene. So when I take the shot here, I'm going to wait for a car to come about this position, and then I'm going to hit the trigger. I'm going to take the exposure. So here I see a car coming. And the best thing to do is actually wait for a cluster of cars, which is probably a second. And when these clusters of cars come, I'm going to hit the trigger. Alright, so I took the shot. I'm seeing a few more cars are coming. Alright, there we go. Got my shot right here. So as you can see, we have the starbursts here. I've sort of cropped my lights to a vanishing point, right in the lower right-hand corner. And you can see the starbursts as well, so it gives it a really nice effect, and the car trail. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. We got our stuff packed up, we're ready to leave. I just wanted to leave you with a little final thought and note. When you take your pictures and look at them in the back of your camera, make sure you look at the histogram, because sometimes when you look at the photo it looks really nice and bright, but remember it's dark outside, so check that histogram, because you don't want to get home and realize that your photos are too dark. And that's all for today. Check the website for more videos and more tutorials. I hope you had a great time. See you next time.